The first time it happened, I thought it was just a strange night on the job. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something was very wrong. If you enjoy real-style scary stories like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe to Dark Whispers, because the story you're about to hear might change the way you look at late-night deliveries forever. I had been doing delivery work for months, so by that point I thought I had seen everything. Drunk customers, angry customers, people who tried to get free food. Nothing really surprised me anymore. But one quiet Tuesday night around 10:15 p.m., I pulled up to an address that still gives me chills whenever I think about it. The address was 4782 Brookfield Lane, a normal-looking suburban street where every house looked almost identical. The porch lights were glowing, the windows had warm yellow light inside, and a wreath hung on the front door like any ordinary home preparing for the holidays. Everything about the place looked peaceful. I grabbed the delivery bag and walked up the driveway, expecting a quick handoff like every other order that night. A woman opened the door before I even knocked. She looked like she was in her mid-30s, wearing faded jeans and a blue cardigan, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail. She had the kind of tired smile you see on parents who've had a long day. I told her the total for the order: 2 large pizzas, breadsticks, and a drink. Before I even finished speaking, she handed me 2 $20 bills. The order was only $23. I started reaching for my wallet to get her change, but she stopped me quickly and said, "Keep it." A $17 tip on a Tuesday night was honestly amazing. I thanked her probably 3 times. I was about to turn around and leave when she suddenly stopped me and said, "Hold on. Let me check the bag. Don't leave until I come back." She stepped inside, leaving the door slightly open behind her. From where I stood, I could see part of the hallway inside the house. Family photos lined the walls, and the beige carpet looked worn and stained, like it had seen years of messy kids and busy life. At first, I just waited politely, scrolling on my phone while she checked the food. But after about 5 minutes passed, I started hearing something strange coming from deeper inside the house. It sounded like whispering. At first, I thought maybe she was talking on the phone, but the longer I listened, the more it sounded like a conversation. 2 voices going back and forth. One was hers, and the other sounded like a man's voice. The tone wasn't friendly either. It was low and tense, like they were arguing about something serious. I hadn't seen anyone else when she opened the door earlier, and the house had looked completely empty. The voices suddenly got louder, and then they stopped completely. A few seconds later, footsteps came back toward the front door. The door slowly opened wider, and the woman peeked out again. But this time, something about her felt completely different. The tired smile she had before was gone. Her face looked blank, almost confused. She stared at me, then glanced toward my car parked at the curb, and then looked back at me again. Finally, she frowned slightly and asked a question that made my entire body go cold. "Why are you still alive?" For a second, I honestly thought she was joking, but the look on her face wasn't playful or sarcastic. She looked genuinely confused, like she expected something else to happen. My brain completely froze. I tried to say something, but no words came out. Before I could even react, she stepped back inside and slammed the door shut. I heard the deadbolt lock, then the chain lock slide into place. I just stood there on the porch trying to understand what had just happened. Through the small window next to the door, I watched the lights inside the house start turning off one by one. First, the living room went dark, then the hallway, then the kitchen in the back. Within seconds, the entire house was completely dark and silent, like nobody had ever been there at all. My phone buzzed in my pocket. When I checked it, the delivery app showed the order as completed with a 5-star rating and the $17 tip confirmed. Everything on the screen looked perfectly normal, but I was standing outside a pitch-black house with my hands shaking. I slowly walked back to my car, locked the doors the moment I got inside, and sat there staring at the house for nearly a minute. The two $20 bills were still clenched in my hand, damp with sweat. That's when I realized something else that felt strange. She had tipped me before I even handed her the food, almost like the money had been ready, waiting. I drove away, but I only made it 2 blocks before I had to pull over because my hands were shaking too badly to steer. I reported the incident later that night, but nothing ever came of it. Over the next week, I passed by Brookfield Lane a few times out of curiosity. Every time the house looked completely normal. Lights on, cars in the driveway, decorations still hanging on the door. Nothing that suggested anything strange had happened there. But I never forgot the way she looked at me, like I wasn't supposed to be standing there alive. And honestly, that wasn't even the worst delivery I've experienced. A few months later, another order came through late at night. The house looked normal from the outside, just a small single-story place with a porch light on. When the door opened, a man in his 50s stood there staring at me. Instead of taking the pizza, he just leaned against the doorway and started asking personal questions. How old I was, whether I had a boyfriend, if I lived nearby. The way he looked at me made my skin crawl. When he finally handed me the money, he counted the change slowly into my palm, letting his fingers linger on my hand longer than necessary. Then he leaned closer and whispered that he was lonely since his wife passed away, and asked if I would come inside for just 5 minutes. He even offered to give me an expensive necklace if I did him a small favor. Every alarm bell in my head went off. I shoved the pizza into his hands and ran back to my car. By the time I locked the door, he was already outside screaming at me through the window, his face twisted with anger. I drove away so fast my tires screeched. After that night, I started realizing something about this job. You never really know who's behind the door, but the delivery that still haunts me the most happened just before midnight one night, when an order came through requesting food delivered to an old cemetery on the edge of town. At first, I thought it was a joke, but the system confirmed it, and I needed the money for rent, so I drove there. The cemetery gates were wide open. My headlights passed over rows of old headstones as I followed the gravel path deeper inside. Eventually, I saw a man standing near a mausoleum waving at me. He took the pizza, but when he handed me the money, his hands were covered in blood. At first, he laughed it off, saying he'd just cut himself climbing a fence. But then I noticed blood smeared across the stone wall behind him. A second man limped around the corner moments later, barely able to stand. His leg was torn open so badly I could see bone through the wound. The moment he collapsed, I ran. I jumped into my car and sped out of there as both men started shouting for me to come back. While driving out, I felt something heavy under my tire, like the car had run over something soft. I didn't stop to check. When I reached a gas station, I finally looked at the tire. Something dark was smeared across the tread blood mixed with fabric. Maybe something worse. The police searched the cemetery later. They told me they didn't find anything. No blood, no people, nothing. To this day, I still do delivery work, but with a different company in different neighborhoods. I've completed thousands of orders since those nights. Most of them are normal, but every time I pull up to a quiet street with warm lights glowing in the windows, a small part of me still wonders what might be waiting behind that door, and whether the person opening it expects to see me alive. And if you ever find yourself ordering food late at night, remember this: for the driver bringing your meal, it might be just another delivery, or it might be the kind of night they never forget.